So once upon a time, a boy comes home from college. His parents live in a village. The boy has earned a scholarship to a prestigious institute. And coming back home, he feels that he has to explain to his parents how it is important to be very, very well educated. So he always, since the time he has come home, every action of his parents, he links it to some principle of science or math. So his mother is cooking food and she is making rice and she is making chapatis, rotis. So he starts explaining to his mother, do you know that the surface area of the vessel receives heat from the flames, and therefore you need to spread the rice, you need, or what is called as, you need to have the rice spread equally, in equal proportion in that vessel. So his mother is like, yes, yes. So he told his mother, tomorrow I'm going to measure the specifications of this vessel, and then you have to make rice like that. Then his mother is making rotis. He says, do you know why these are fluffing up? Because the heat is being transferred by conduction. Initially it was induction, and now it is conduction. Do you know what is conduction? So there are molecules in the flour, and because of heat, there's transfer of energy. So do you know what are p orbitals and s orbitals? So I will not teach you all of that, don't worry. So it was going on like that. So at lunchtime, he has prasad, he has food, his father is also there. And he explains to his father why sitting on the ground and eating is very helpful, because human anatomy, it exerts pressure on the abdomen. This helps in digestion. His father is like, oh, very good. So there is dessert. So his mother has made laddus. So she brings out 2 laddus. So he says, how many laddus are there? His mother says 2. He says, are you sure? Are you sure there are 2 laddus? His mother says, yes. He says, I think there are 3 laddus. No one will believe that I am in America. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So he says there are three laddus. His mother is confused. His father keeps quiet. There's a difference between male ego and female ego. Mother is like, no, there are two laddus. So he says, show me how. Mother says, one and two. He says, no, show me. So she puts a finger on the first laddu and says, this is one. And then puts the finger on the second laddu and she says, this is two. So he says, so the son says, but what is one and two? So there is three laddus. So she says, no, there are two laddus. He says, understand, this is logic. Big philosophers, they imagine the existence. They understand reality in this form. Do you know who was Newton? It is because he could see three where you say two. He could see something that common people couldn't. So his mother says, how? He says, again, point it out, one. Okay, this is one, and this is two. So what is one and two? Three. So his father, he speaks, he says, son, you have opened my eyes. Now I realize why education is so important, especially prestigious institutes. Your mother can still only see two laddus. Well, you know, difference between male psychology and female psychology. I can see three laddus. So what we are going to do is, he takes what laddu number one, gives it to mother. Laddu number two keeps it for himself. Says, mother will eat laddu number one. I will eat laddu number two. You eat the third laddu. So this is how sometimes trying to understand finer principles of philosophy, one can become confused. People hear that we are not the soul, we are not the body, we are the soul. So you ask them, where is the body? They say, this is the body. Where is the soul? They say, somewhere in the body. But then they'll start quoting verses from the Gita. Soul is in the heart, isn't it? So that which cannot be perceived by the regular senses has to be understood through knowledge and then experience. If one does not come to the platform of experience, then knowledge can be misinterpreted. And the philosophers of the past, especially the Vaishnava philosophers, they warn us of two kinds of misinterpretation. One is that we make things too simplistic, very simplistic. That if you want, then tomorrow the Lord can appear in your dreams. Simply chant Hare Krishna, and very soon you will have reciprocation with the Lord in some format or the other. So, very simplistic. And the other misinterpretation is that we try to imagine ourselves to be completely non material. We consider ourselves to be beyond any shortcomings. We consider ourselves to be complete, wholesome. So, the approach of making things very simplistic is technically called as Sahajism. The approach of thinking oneself to be greater than who we are, imagining ourselves to be complete, perfect, is impersonalism. So one is Sahajism, the other is impersonalism. Now, within impersonalism, there are two dangerous outcomes that could be there. One is within impersonalism, we could either fall prey to what is called as Mayavad philosophy, or we could fall prey to what is called as Shunyavad philosophy. And all of this could happen simply by chanting Hare Krishna also. Because these could be the outcomes of any spiritual practice. The true outcome of the spiritual practice is to become very, very adept at rendering service that can give us consistent happiness. That is a very good outcome of spiritual practice. Services that can give us consistent happiness. It has to be consistent. So, till the time we achieve, till the time a practitioner comes to that platform, the practitioner always has to be careful about neither trying to make the process too simplistic nor trying to become impersonalistic. So, this is the balance. If we have read through or if we have been trained in basic tenets of Vaishnava theology, then one can easily be safe from these tendencies. At the same time, one can also very easily fall into these dangerous situations easily. And Krishna is, as a Supreme Lord, is completely unbiased. If one is wanting to have outcomes which are not in sync with Krishna, then he lets us have it. Whether we are into spiritual practices or we are not. Like Bharat Maharaj, we have the example. I'm just giving an example of King Bharat Maharaj, the son of Rishabdev. He was so much inspired by the practice of Krishna consciousness that he felt that it was time for 24-hour engagement. This is some here at a temple or maybe some other place. You may have 24-hour kirtan. It's actually a misnomer in one sense. Only the walls participate in 24-hour kirtan. Humans there, they take turns. They come in shifts. Now, if the walls had consciousness, then they would be 24-hour Krishna. But those who sing kirtan and those who come and be part of the audience, we know we only come part time, isn't it? But when we come back, we let everyone know that, oh, we went to 24-hour kirtan. So there we see the mind starts imagining. It was so nice, 24-hour kirtan. How many hours did we log in? Oh, I never thought I should ask that question to myself. And no one else asked me that question. Everyone's like, you're so fortunate. Wish we could be so fortunate. Next year, we'll also come for 24-hour kirtan. So in Nyaya Shastra, there is a verse to describe this. Ustranam hi vivaheshu gardavam pratijayate parasparam prashansanti aho avadhani. So there was the marriage of a camel taking place, and the camel's friend, the donkey, visits the camel. And they start praising each other. The donkey tells the camel, "Oh, you look so handsome." The camel wants to reciprocate, so the camel says, "Your voice is so melodious." Now, translated in terms of where we have to be careful, it could be, "Oh, you're so fortunate." Like, no, no, it is only by your mercy. After some time, you go on auto mode. Very quickly, we learn all these etiquettes, you know. So, anyways, the living entity's greatest danger in this world is the tendency to enjoy. Now, to have enjoyment is not a problem because the living entity is anandamaya abhyasat. The living entity, spirit, soul, is by nature pleasure seeking. By nature. When we say the living entity, it also includes Krishna, by the way, because Krishna is also a living entity. Do you realize that? The only difference is that Krishna is a supreme living entity. Therefore, he is called Paramatma. We are all Atma. So he also is pleasure seeking. We are all pleasure seeking. Anandamaya Abhyasa. This is Shruti. The Shruti is the Vedic literatures describe this. However, when this constitutional existence of seeking pleasure is corrupted by the vision or by the understanding of I want to enjoy, separate from everyone. As a separatist, I want to enjoy. Then that is the greatest danger. Why? Because we have no control over the resources that will give us enjoyment. That is why. It's like someone who says, I want to buy things at the mall, but I have no credit card. I have no money. It will lead to frustration, disenchantment. So Srila Prabhupada says the living entities attempt to enjoy in this material world simply leads to frustration. Therefore, it is a danger. Now, when we take up to spiritual practices and we haven't taken enough pains to relieve ourselves of this tendency, this unnecessary trait, there is a problem. In the beginning days of two-wheelers in India, we used to have a company in India called as Bajaj. Massive production of two-wheelers. Those are days where we had handle locks. We could lock the handle of the two-wheeler, the scooter. No, there was a lock there on the body. The handle could be locked. But the interesting thing about Bajaj's was this handle could also auto lock. Not all Bajaj models would do that. Sometimes mechanical failure, so auto lock. So one day when I was riding my scooter, I needed to take a left turn. So I took the left turn. Then I needed to take another left turn. After some time, I took another left turn. I was like enjoying the ride. And then I wanted to take a right turn. It would not turn right. Auto lock. So as long as everything is going along in our spiritual practices, we feel nice till the time we hit that roadblock. We go into auto lock mode. I want to enjoy. And then when you try to maneuver things in that situation, it becomes very frustrating. Why doesn't anyone listen to me? I don't like this place. Here I'm not enjoying the services. So on and so forth. So when one still has that trait within our consciousness, these two mistakes can be performed by the practitioner. One is make things very simplistic. I do not have the energy to raise myself to the transcendental platform, so bring the transcendental platform down to my level. It's easy. All I have to do is start preaching. Krishna is very merciful. Krishna is very powerful. Krishna loves his devotees. And who is a better devotee than me? Therefore, Krishna has special mercy on me. And a few coincidences, and you start actually believing that, oh, yeah, Krishna has special mercy. Sahajism. One day somebody came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I chant Hare Krishna. This is only in this context, all right? Only in this context, this example is there. Prabhupada, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, and whenever I chant, the form of Krishna comes in my mind. Prabhupada said, chant more Hare Krishna, it will go away. So only in this context, because ultimately when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna will reveal the form, eternal form. But here Prabhupada just wanted to make the point that try and focus on the holy names. Because what you're imagining is simply what you have seen. Many devotees, they say that, oh, I was sitting in Mayapur and when I was chanting Hare Krishna, I remember Radha Kalachandji. And others like, oh, you're so attached to Radha Kalachandji. Poor Radha Madhava is thinking, what about me? Because Radha Madhava is there in Mayapur. So it's not that Radha Kalachandji cannot appear. I'm not saying that. However, what I'm saying is that we have to be careful. We do not bring the transcendent. We should be careful not to bring the transcendental plane down to our mundane level. Just be careful. That's it. And the other thing is, I get most peace when I'm thinking of nothing. Like just I'm chanting and the holy names, and constantly it is resounding in my ears, and the mind goes blank. I like that. Good. Because ultimately, if you're chanting the holy names of Krishna, then slowly all these sense objects will slowly they will melt away. They disappear. However, we have to be careful that we do not fall into nothingness. Yeah? We do not consider the holy names to be simply sound, because Shabda will reveal Rupa, Leela, Guna. Sound does that, especially Krishna's holy name. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. The impersonal aspect of existence is very seems to be very helpful for practitioners, because it seems the mind can be peaceful if it is not distracted by anything. Therefore, slowly, an impersonal approach will lead us to become critical of many situations. Oh, they're simply jumping and dancing here. No one is serious. Oh, deity worship, but they simply want to decorate the deities. No one is conscious that this is Krishna personally standing here. So, or why do you need to have so many colorful dresses? Why do you need to have so many flowers? So it can lead us to that, because different presentation at different times distracts us. So we may become critical due to the impersonal approach. So we have to be very careful that it is not that we have to always want the deities to be having different presentations. We always want to have different melodies of kirtan going on. It's not that. However, if we find ourselves wanting to go into a do not disturb zone, being critical of all that is happening, then there is a chance that impersonalism is hitting us. So, what is helpful? Only one thing is helpful: finding the enthusiasm, or finding encouragement in rendering service, which gives us consistent happiness. Now, the hands, the legs, the eyes, all of these have limited strength. How much manual service can one do? How much reading can one do? How much analysis to, how much time can one put into analysis? There's a limit. Of all the activities that can be performed by the senses, that which seems to be reasonable, that can be continued that can be performed in a consistent manner for a longer time is talking, sound vibration. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, we are advised that vibrate the holy names with the tongue. This is a service that we should do. Nama Seva. Does it give us consistent pleasure? So, till the time we can find consistent pleasure, some consistency in the chanting of the holy names, till that time, find some other services which can engage our time. Those services may not be compatible with the strength of us, the strength that we have in our senses, other senses. Physical activities, we may not be able to do as much. Festival of joy. After that, if if there was another festival coming up, what would have happened? No, we put in a lot of us put in so much effort for the FOG, isn't it? Like, all right, let's just give our best. It's once in a year event. And what would have happened if on the last day they say that, hey, this event is so good, we've decided to extend it.
Sorts of joy. Signs of joy.
So, physical labor, there's only so much we could do. However, we could still get up and chant Hare Krishna the next day. Therefore, kala, kalau nasteva 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 gatiranyata. Now, if you ask Hiranyakashipu, hey, what do you think? Should we go and do 10,000 years of tapasya? He's like, yes, why not? Don't you think that you should just do it over the weekend and then take a break for 4 weeks? Like we do it for Festival of Joy. He's like, Hiranyakashipu is like, no, 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 no need. 10 years at a stretch. 10,000 years at a stretch. So Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, eva kevalam. Kalau nastiva, nastiva, nastiva gatiranyata. Holy names were always possible, but in Kali Yuga, the facility of speech, Vaka Shakti, is the ability that we can retain for a longer time than any other abilities. Talking. Sometimes people, because they kind of they have some issues with their nervous system, some filters in the brain, they get tweaked a little. They go on constantly talking, constantly. Constantly talking. There are medical issues like that. No other medical issue is as long term as this issue. Today's times. Any other function of the human body tires, but this goes on for quite a long time. Talking, sound vibration. Therefore, seva, especially nama seva, is very much recommended. All right. So we have to be careful about the traps of making things too simplistic, where we bring the transcendental platform down to our level, or trying to make things impersonalistic, which basically means that we artificially try to raise ourselves to the transcendental platform. Impersonalism basically means that since I cannot enjoy myself, why don't I become the one, the absolute one? So now by definition, I am the enjoyer. Especially wherever there is institutionalized working, this impersonalism creeps in. You know, in the early days, everyone took care of everyone else. But now we have so many departments. Now all we do is fill up charts, but no one has time to talk to us. So in the beginning days, few people, there was no need of compartmentalized regulations, not as much. Free flow. There's free flow of there was free exchanges happening. But then there is compartmentalized. Oh, we only do it on Friday, and we do it in our group, not in your group. No, we do not believe in groupism, but still in our group this happens. In that group that doesn't happen. Impersonalism. If you say no, impersonalism, everything becomes one. But impersonalism also means that because we are trying to subconsciously become one, we become critical of variety, variegatedness. Coming to criticism, there is an interesting realization given by one great teacher. It's a very nice sadhu Mahatma. He says in the episode where the goddess of fortune, Rama Devi, Shri Lakshmi, who is also known as Sindhu Kanya, is born from the ocean of milk. She appears. What does she have in her hand? A varamala, not just a garland, but a varamala. You know what is a varamala?
Bright.
Can you imagine the flowers early morning they're picked up and they're wondering, are we going to be glorified as a varamala or as a shavamala? You know what is a shavamala? When that body is decorated with garlands of flowers. She had a varamala. She had a garland of flowers, which specially established her intent of wanting to find a groom for herself. So there were a lot of people there. There were the Devatas on one side, the Daityas on the other side. Yes. So everyone was kind of sending their resume to her. She's like, you have this issue, this problem. No, this quality is not there. This quality is not helpful. So finally, she comes in front of Vishnu. She looks at him, looks at his resume, and says, you also have a defect. Now, that is not how Srimad Bhagavatam says it, but if we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can understand why this realization has been given by the sadhu. So this great Mahatma says the nature of criticism is that if you start criticizing, then you really get used to it. Just as Sindhu Kanya got used to being critical. So when she looked at Lord Vishnu, she says, "You also have a problem. You never see the defects of others. That is a defect. You never see someone as inimical towards you. You consider everyone to be equally disposed towards you. So nature of being critical is that even if you feel somebody has a good quality, you present it as a defect. Everything is nice, but somehow I feel it is too good to be true. Finished. Because you cannot stay without being critical. Now, if in reply we hear someone says that whatever you say is true, however, it's too good to be true. Your statement itself is also too good to be true. So, what does it mean? That your statement is not very helpful. So, impersonalism and Sahajism. We have to be careful of both. And the Acharyas, they have explained that this can be easily avoided. These two pitfalls can be easily avoided if we simply focus on service. In one of the memoirs about Jayanand Prabhu, it is explained that one of those years when he was building the Rath Yatra cart, in 1968, I think we had the Rath Yatra in San Francisco. And since then, till the time he got hospitalized, must be around 75 or 75, I think so. I could be wrong. Every year he would build a Rath Yatra cart in SFO. So he would work into the night. Many devotees try to assist, but after some time, but if it is not what you can really assist with, then very soon you give up, you leave. So many people would leave, but he would go on. He just continue on. And passers-by, being interested, occasionally would stop and they would start small talk with him. And after 2 minutes of small talk with him, he would somehow or the others engage them in the construction. It's like, can you hold this for me, please? Since you're holding it, can you punch in the nail? Like that. And after some time, they would see that, hey, for a couple of hours, we've been here. Some of them would stay in touch. Quite a few of them would just, that was all they ever did in their life, most probably. But that was his personality. So one day, somebody who had been very much inspired by him and joined the temple came up to him because he really respected him. You know, very inspirational figure. Plus, he considered him to be a mentor too. So he went up to him and he asked him, Prabhu, I really have a very, very important question to ask of you. Do you know what question he asked? Anyone knows? Okay. So he said, is it all right if I continue working on this cart? He said, yes, yes, please continue working on the cart, but I would like you to give an answer. So So, what is the question? He said, how can you be safe from Maya? Did we ever have that question in the mind? How to be safe from Maya? So, Jayanand Prabhu just went on working. So, he thought he did not hear the question. So, he repeated his question. How do we be safe from Maya? How can I be safe from Maya? So, Jayanand Prabhu did not give an answer. He said, Prabhu, please give an answer. He says, I do not know. You do not know how to be safe from Maya? He says, no, no, I do not know because I do not have time to think about it. That's a very nice answer. If I don't have time to think about Maya, I have to be safe from it because I'm engaged in services. Basically, till the time I'm engaged in services, I'm safe from Maya. A person was told that you climb up the stairs and you enter the room and the room is full of gold because you wanted to know what is gold, what is gold. So he was told you climb up the stairs, you enter the room and the room is full of gold. So he runs up the stairs, he opens the room and sees this brilliant yellowish shining metal. He says, now you know what is gold. He says, is this gold? They say, yeah, that is gold. So then when he's walking down the stairs, he sees that the stairs are also made up of gold. Applying it into our lives. Many of us are wanting to chant Hare Krishna because we want to see Krishna. So we will go up the door, and when we open the door, we see that Krishna is the holy name. Come down the stairs, we say, oh, the holy names, Krishna was right there. Abhinatvam nama naminam. So Nama Seva is very, very important. And we have to engage our minds in Seva. If we just, most of us, we have adopted the English language, not adopted the English language, right? So if somebody wants to know how to control the mind, they say, oh, chant the holy names of the Lord. Now, that is a translation of the technical word Nama Seva. Now, in Telugu, Nama Seva. In Tamil, Nama Seva. In Hindi, Nama Seva. Everyone easily understand what it means. But in English, chant the holy names, you're like, oh my God, I have to work so much. Because when we use the word seva, whatever be our upbringing, if we have the culture of Sanatan Dharma, it's just one sense, maybe our birthright to understand what seva means. Therefore, for us, it is very important that if we want to make advancement in spiritual life, we should start saying that I want to do Nama Seva. That makes it much more relevant to us than chanting of the holy names. So, can we do that? If you want to explain to someone who's never understood growing up, never had that culture of what is seva, then we can say, yes, chant the holy names of the Lord. It is very helpful and it will be helpful for them. But for us, the understanding of seva is more relevant because we understand that word has a deeper connection with us than simply chanting the holy names of the Lord. Isn't it? How many times have you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Nama Jap. It's Nama Sankirtan. Nama Sankirtan has been used much more than Nama Jap. Yes. And Harinama Seva or Harinama Sankirtan. Have you translated into English? Congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Because it is the adopted language, it feels a little distant away. But when we say Harinama Sankirtan, you're like, now I understand. Just because that is a culture that we grew up in. And these books, this language, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the language that is used is from that culture, isn't it? So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami tells us the story of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Everyone knows Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya? Everyone knows Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya? There are some who don't know Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Yeah. So those who know Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, please explain to them. Those who do not know after class. Who is Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya? So Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya is, according to Kaviraj Goswami and the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Brihaspati personified. That is Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Means he's exceptionally brilliant. So that is from the perspective of devotion. Now, from the perspective of mundane knowledge, he was a person that had mastered Nyaya in those times when no one else had mastered Nyaya. There are 6 aspects of Vedic knowledge. They are called as the Angas, Shadangas. One of that is Nyaya. All right? One who has mastered all these Shadangas, which is called as the Vedangas also, is considered to be a scholar. All these six aspects, the Vedangas, the Shadangas, there are 6 divisions. And this is accepted across all schools of thought in Vedic philosophy. All right? During Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya's time, when he was a young man, only a few people had mastery over all 6 divisions. The rest of the scholarly world had mastery only over 5. Nyaya was the only logic, using logic to discern between that which is spirit and that which is matter. That is called as Nyaya. Right? Same thing you'll use in math, especially binary functions. You use logic, right? Discern whether it is 1 or 0. Binary logic, right? It's very important because they have distinct characteristics. So 1010 and 1100 would result in different products. Correct? So similarly, you use Nyaya or logic to discern what is the absolute truth. If the absolute truth is supposed to be AABC or AABB and you come to the conclusion ABAB, then that is not the absolute truth. That is what is Nyaya. So very, very mathematical. Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya went to the seat of Nyaya philosophy and he mastered it. Now, here is something interesting. One may master a subject, but if we have to reproduce it, then we need the book. We need a copy of the book because to reproduce it, you need to memorize everything that is in the book from A to Z. And this is how, in those times, in times of Sarvam Bhattacharya, except this particular seat of learning, nobody else in the scholarly world could master it other than coming to this place, studying there, and they could not make a copy of the original book and take it back. The books had to remain there. Just like during the time of Ramanujacharya, there was a particular scripture that was only available in Kashmir, Shardapit. So you could go and study there, but you could not make a copy of that book. This is how they exerted monopoly. Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya memorized the entire book, memorized all the codes. He came back to Navadvip and he rewrote the book as it is, the exact copy. No one had done that before. That is when he was given the title Sarvabhauma. On this planet Earth, he was the only person who could manage this, who could who could reproduce the whole all the Vedangas, had committed it to memory. And then he let his disciples make copies, and that is how, since then, the six limbs of knowledge are available to all. The Vedangas are available to all. So this is written history about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Exceptionally brilliant person. Having associated with the members in Kashi, this was in Kashi, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became inclined towards an impersonalistic understanding of the absolute truth till he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visits him. Sarvabhauma says, "Oh, you are the grandson of Nilambar Chakravarti. I and Nilambar were great friends." Like here, if you meet somebody from a village, you're like, you know this person? I also, oh, we were great friends. So they are meeting in Puri and they're speaking about Navadvip, hometown of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and hometown of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya feels fraternal affection for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You're such a young sannyasi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just 25 years of age at that point of time. Or as you say in India, 24 completed, 25 running. So somebody from the West came to India and they asked a person, "What is your age?" They said, 25 running. He said, "Where are you running?" We are very matter of fact, no, in India. We know that time constantly travels. Time is in constant motion. It's not like time changes at the end of the calendar year. No, so it wouldn't be very unnatural to find somebody in India say 25 years, 4 months, 3 days, and 4 hours. Because they know Tithi and everything. So, anyways, he was only 25 years of age. He says, at such a young age, you're a sannyasi. In those days, you did not have, you know, CCTVs and monitoring systems. So it was a little difficult for somebody to be away from distractions. Little difficult. Nowadays, if you are like 2 Sundays, if you are not seen at a temple, the third Sunday people ask you, "Oh, Prabhu, Mataji, Prabhuji, you did not come to the temple last Sunday?" In those days, it wasn't like that. There were no Sunday to Sunday programs. So monitoring was a little difficult. Hence, he said that you have to self-monitor. And we understand self-monitoring is really, it's easier to find Krishna than to monitor oneself. Self-discipline really takes a lot of effort, isn't it? Especially as a young man, young woman. So he wanted to teach him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed. Sarvam Bhattacharya's brother-in-law. Sarvam Bhattacharya had a sister who was married. So now this brother-in-law, isn't it? In Andhra, that is called as co-brother or what? No, sister's husband. So brother-in-law, not co-brother, brother-in-law. Or maybe they are co-brothers. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure who Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's sister is. So, and I'm not sure if Sarvabhauma's wife's brother is Gopinath Acharya. So, maybe both their wives are sisters. So now they become co-brothers, no? Co-brother-in-law, something like that. Co-brother-in-law. But they had a relationship, brother-in-law. And somehow in this relationship, according to the custom, Gopinath Acharya is higher Gotra than Sarva Bhattacharya. Or not higher, but more respectable. So most probably Sarvam Bhattacharya's sister is, most probably it's like that. So Gopinath Acharya, he says, are you crazy? You're trying to teach God. Sarvam Bhattacharya says that, well, in our scriptures, even God learns. When the Lord appears here, the Lord also has a spiritual master. He says, yes, but when they understand this is a spiritual master, they realize that it is their greatest fortune. Do you also accept that? And this is your greatest fortune? He says, that may be your belief. But in scriptures, it also says that the Lord appears in 3 yugas. It's called Triyogi. So where does it say that he appears in the 4th age of Kali? He says, you also know that there are references that Lord appears in the age of Kali too. It is just that he does not appear as the Supreme Lord, but appears in another relationship. Oh, that's all right. You be happy with your belief and let me be happy with my understanding. So Sarvam Bhattacharya decided to teach him Vedanta from the impersonal aspect. Teach whom? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because a sannyasi has to become immune from the attractions of material world. The best way to be immune is become completely disconnected. Okay, so whether it is Rasagulla or whether it is clay, same. That helps to be disconnected, right? Tomorrow onwards, if you also start thinking like that and really believe in it, then most probably, if anyone says, Prabhu, today we are going to have celebration for all the services, Mahaprasad Rasgulla is coming, you're like, whether Rasgulla, whether clay. Same for me. So mind will be a little peaceful. So he was trying to teach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the Vedanta philosophy from the impersonal aspect. He taught Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 7 days, from morning to evening. After 7 days, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, any questions? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no. So he said, that means either of two things. You've understood everything or you've understood nothing. Well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, actually, the understanding of Vedanta is self-effulgent. Your interpretation are like clouds that are covering my vision of the sun. Oh, if you're not able to understand, why didn't you ask questions? He said, well, I did not need to ask questions because it is self evident. The meaning is self evident. So, if you understand the axioms of the Vedas and the Vedanta philosophy, why didn't we express it? Let's see. I'll take a verse and I will give its interpretations. And then I would like to hear from you. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took a verse, Atma Ramaschumunyam Nirgranthayu, like that. He gave 9 interpretations to it. And actually, for the first time, 9 interpretations are revealed. First time ever. Brihaspati. So he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started giving interpretations. The first interpretation he gave was completely different from all the 9 interpretations. The second one was also different from all the 10 interpretations. The third one was different from all the 11 interpretations. 9 of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and 2 that he had given. In this way, he gave how many interpretations? Anyone knows how many? Homework. All right? Homework. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya heard him give all those interpretations, most probably I don't remember, so I'm giving you homework. Now you'll feel happy.
You can use Lifeline.
Yeah, Google. Yeah, Google search, You'll have the answer right now. Let us say it is anywhere between 10 to 80. All right. When he heard that, he said that if Brihaspati's interpretations are not being touched, then there can only be one person who can do that. He says, Mahaprabhu, you are Mahaprabhu. So he said, I now understand you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So after a couple of days, he meets his brother-in-law, Gopinath Acharya. He says, I'm so fortunate that I have you in my life. Because of you, I could interact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarvabhauma kahe ami tarkika ku buddhi tomara prasade mora e sampatta siddhi. I got the sampatti, the treasure. He says, I was Tarkic. You know what is Tarkic?
Argumenting.
Logician. Sometimes they can be argumentative. Sometimes they can be analytical. Sometimes both. He says, Tarkika kubuddhi. So this is definitely only argumentative. Because kubuddhi. I was a foolish logician. Tomara prasade, because of having your association, more a sampatta siddhi, I achieved this rare treasure that I could understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead was. He says, what is that siddhi? Mahaprabhu bina keha nahi doya moya. There's no one as merciful as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kakere garuda kore aichik kona hoya. You know, Kakasur. Kakasur is there. Famous Kakasur in Ramayana. Kaka crow. Kakere garuda kore. He's transformed a menial crow into a magnificent bird as Garuda. This is the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he says, explains about the dangers of just being a logician. He says, Tarkika Shrigala Shange Bhiyu Bhiyu Kori, Sei Mukhe Ebe Sada Kohi Krishna Hari. He says, being a logician, having to be intellectually cunning became second nature to me. Intellectually cunning, just as a jackal is very cunning. And in Bengal, whenever jackal howls, they say bhew bhew. A jackal makes the sound bhew bhew. And now he says the same mouth that would always come up with some cunning logic. Say mukhe ebe sada kohi Krishna Hari. Now instead of bhew bhew, I say Krishna Krishna Hari Hari. This transformation is not easy to bring about. Now, amongst those who are favorably inclined to Krishna consciousness, it's not easy to make them constantly chant Krishna Hari. Is it? Simple test. Next time when you're in Kirtan, Mass Kirtan, what do you call as? Sankirtan, Kirtan Mela. Please try to see and substantiate this observation that I'm going to put forth. Every time there is a group of people who are doing Kirtan, leading Kirtan, as soon as their slot is over, it's so difficult for them to. After some time, they just get up and leave. And then what are they doing? Bhiyu Bhiyu. Not Krishna Hari. So if it is so difficult for those who are favorably inclined to chant Krishna Hari, what to speak of dry logicians. So once upon a time, there was a person that was constantly talking about how everything is Brahman, everything is spirit. And ultimately, spirit is that which matters, and matter is simply an illusion. Jada. So he decided to go to a teacher who could specifically train him and make him completely fixed in this understanding. So his teacher told him, wherever you go, whatever you see, understand that every moving object is simply Brahma. All right? That's the absolute truth. So one day he's going down the street and Coming the opposite way is a mad elephant. The Mahout. You know what is a Mahout?
Yeah.
The elephant trainer. Elephant trainer. He's shouting loudly, "Get out of the way! This elephant is out of control. Get out of the way!" So people just scatter here and there. The street is empty except for this gentleman. Somebody tells him, "Sir, move out. You'll be crushed under the elephant." He says, "No, elephant is Brahma. I am Brahma. There's no difference between the elephant and me." So the elephant trainer looks at him and says, "Madman, move aside." He says, "No, elephant is Brahma. I am Brahma." My Guru Maharaj told me, "Look at, see, everything that you see moving is Brahma. You should see spirit soul, Brahma." He got severely injured when the elephant hit him. So he goes back to his Guru Maharaj. He says, "Guru Maharaj, you taught me everything is Brahma. Whatever you see, anything moving, you should consider to be Brahma, spirit soul. And there's no difference. Every spirit soul is the same, has the same quality." So his Guru told him, "Did you see every moving object as Brahma?" He said, "Yes." The elephant was there. "I am here." So I saw the elephant as Brahma. I said, "I am Brahma." He said, "Did you see the Mahout too?" He said, "Yes." Was the Mahout also a moving object, living object? He said, "Yes." So who's the Mahout? Brahma. So what was that Brahma telling this Brahma? So that Brahma was telling this Brahma, "Move away." So when one Brahma tells another Brahma to not to move away, and this Brahma does not move away because this Brahma thinks that that Brahma and this Brahma are the same, the elephant Brahma and I Brahma are the same, then what do you think is going to be the consequence? Brahma will pick up the other Brahma and throw him away. So Krishna, he makes it very clear. Pandita Samadarshina. A Pandit sees every moving object, every living existence as being part and parcel of Krishna. Correct? Whether it is Brahmana, Gavi, Hastini, Shuni, Cha Eva, Shopakecha. Because Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. So simply understanding that everything is spirit soul, simply understanding that I have to be a servant of Krishna may not be enough to have realization. Because knowledge is considered to be knowledge when it brings about Vinaya. Vidya Vinaya Sampanna. And not just Vinaya, but Vinaya Sampanna. So what is Vinaya Sampannata? What is the translation? A humble sage. Is that a translation? A humble sage. So then we ask, how do we become humble? By virtue of knowledge. But then we say, oh, knowledge makes us proud. Then we say, that is not knowledge. Just as there is Lakshmi and Alakshmi. You know what is Alakshmi? Puranas speak of Alakshmi. They speak that they were born as twins. One was called Lakshmi, the other was called as Alakshmi. Alakshmi's nature is just the opposite of Lakshmi. Similarly, there is Saraswati and Asaraswati. So knowledge by virtue brings about humility. And if we have to have humility, then we should cultivate knowledge. According to this verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So, what is true knowledge? True knowledge is that which helps a living entity access consistent pleasure through practical devotional service, through Nam Seva. That is true knowledge. Everything else is, how does Prabhupada say it? Reflection of the absolute truth. That is what Prabhupada says. No? It is a reflection of the absolute truth. So, reflection of real knowledge. Everything else is just a reflection of the real knowledge. So, to cultivate real knowledge, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have Srimad Bhagavad Gita, not just Bhakti Shastri. We have Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have Bhagavad Gita. What is Chaitanya Charitamrita? It is Chaitanya Leela. It is not just selected verses from Bhakti Shastri. What is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is Krishna Arjuna Samvade. It is not just selected verses. See, again we have to go back to the culture where the language of the Bhagavad Gita comes from. How do we express Bhagavad Gita? Supanishatsu Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. What is Samvad? Discussion. Samvad is discussion. All right. So, discussion is enjoyable. Selected verses are hauntingly stressful. So, once you are done with selected verses, enjoy Krishna Samvad with Arjun. Once you are done with selected passages, enjoy Samvad, enjoy Chaitanya Leela. Once you are done with selected verses, enjoy various pastimes of Krishna in the Bhagavatam. If you want other Puranas too. Alright? Because the nature of the living entity is to always seek pleasure, not just be a jnani. Not just cultivate knowledge, but cultivate knowledge that results in humility. And humility comes from cultivation of real knowledge, not the reflection of knowledge. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
You can go ahead, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful insightful class. As you said, to be constantly, impersonalism and like to be engaged, we need to do service. So, in what mode we should do the service? I mean, what type of mode?
What is the mood of doing service? Once a very, very sincere disciple of a teacher was asking the teacher, in what mood can I do service? So teacher said, all right. Now can you bring me water? So he says, water to drink or water for washing? So he says, bring me water to drink. So then the disciple says, do you want it in a glass or a tumbler? So he says, bring it in a glass. Do you want it in a big glass or a small glass? So he says, bring me water in a big glass. So do you want me to hold the glass or bring it in a tray? So you can go on like this, isn't it? Very sincere devotee. Sincere inquiries. The only problem with that is service is not getting done. So what is the mood? Please do service. Cultivate the mood afterwards. I really wanted to know sincerely whether this is the proper etiquette or that, because I want to have the right mood. Yeah? If you do it in a way that is not pleasing, you'll get chastised, learn. But get the service done. So that is the point. Now, if I hadn't known you, then most probably I would have thought that you're for me you would be new. Then I would have said, when I say know you, I know that you've been practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time. That is how I'm saying. Otherwise, people will think you know his character. No, no, no. That is not the intent. Krishna gave me the intelligence to clarify that. I know that you've been practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time. So if I hadn't known that, and if I would have felt that you are new to Krishna consciousness, then my answer would be, you should take association of devotees. And you should hear from sincere devotees. And you should try to take we have done all of that. Big glass, small glass. So association of devotees done for drinking or for washing. So sincere hearing also done. So let's get done with service now. Is it all right? All right. Very good. Yes.
So, like when you were talking about that criticism that comes in like in personalism, um, how do we understand like if some deviation happens from the instructions of spiritual master? Then how do we understand we see that sometimes it happens that some deviation might happen and like I'm not in the position of criticizing, but when we see that these criticisms happening and how do we manage ourselves and carry that enthusiasm?
Once Srila Prabhupada was, I think, taking a morning walk or having a conversation with his devotees. And he said, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it was something about how do we establish, let us say the premise was to establish Krishna as Supreme Personality of God, as God. So the devotees started answering Prabhupada because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that. Prabhupada said, why do you bring Bhagavad Gita into this picture? Why do you have to bring Bhagavad Gita here? Now the devotees all are quiet. What answer should they give? The same devotees, another instance, on another walk, Prabhupada brings up the same question. Let us say it is that how do you establish Krishna as God? And now they remember what Prabhupada had said. Right? Because Krishna is all attractive, the name Krishna is all attractive. So who is all attractive? God is all attractive. So now this person says, Prabhupada, because he's been there on the Prabhupada. Krishna means all attractive. So I'm just completely paraphrasing this, completely paraphrasing because what was the exact conversation I don't remember right now. You could go and check it online. So he says, Prabhupada, because the name Krishna means all attractive, so that is how the Prabhupada said, no, we have the Bhagavad Gita. Based on the Bhagavad Gita, we should. All right? In another instance, a devotee said that Prabhupada, we have heard that you have said this. He said, I have said this. There's so many things that they say that Prabhupada has said. So when you are asking me the question that there is deviation from the spiritual master, what is the source? How do we know that it is the deviation? Is it one of these three instances? All right. So before we start analyzing a situation, let us try and confirm whether, sometimes it is very important to confirm whether that is how it happened, or is it a conclusion that we have come to based on our analysis, especially if it is in relationship with the spiritual master. All right.
That creates more confusion.
Why would it create confusion?
You don't know what's the actual truth. Yeah.
No, we have the Acharya Parampara, so we have series of spiritual masters. So some of them may not be physically available, hence their words are now, the Vani is now established as being absolute. So we can always refer to that. All right. Somehow I thought that your question is about spiritual masters in the present sense. So when we have access to a spiritual master in the physical sense, best to confirm if it is an actual deviation or just what we have heard from someone that this is what the spiritual master wants, and now we feel that it is a deviation, like that. Best to confirm that. Now it's helpful?
Yes.
All right. Did I really answer the question or not?
I have to think about it.
Think about it. Yeah, maybe rephrase the question or come up with the question in another format, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, my question was mostly about like Srila Prabhupada's instruction. So the first part that you gave answer.
Okay.
Prabhu, I had two questions. We can see if you have time for the second. Uh, my first question was, so you talked about these two tendencies. The second one was impersonalism, like we can go into like a do not disturb mode. So, and there are also like two broad personalities that people have: introvert versus extrovert. And extroverts, they are generally, very much, outgoing, and they somehow it feels like their mental capacity or psychological capacity is there to engage with a lot of stuff, one after the other, or even at the same time. But for introverts, they have limited capacity in that sense, and they feel, that okay, this is something that they are comfortable with. There are other things, some social situations that they may not be so comfortable with. So in bhakti, a lot of the things that we do are social. Like we have our personal sadhana, but other than that, when we are in service or we are in the temple, so these things are more social in nature. And you mentioned that we have to be able to appreciate all of these things, and not be like, criticize. Okay, what is this? Why does it have to change so much of different things? So is it that one of these, like introverts, are somehow more, you know, uh, mm, uh, have a higher tendency of falling into impersonalism, or if not, then how do introverts engage with stuff to the extent that they can, while also not getting into that, impersonal zone?
Um, a direct answer is that these kind of personality traits do not define a person's impersonalistic or personalistic approach towards the absolute truth. Do not define that, and can be very easily understood because these personality traits generally are expressed in terms of your social interactions, and typically social interactions are based on how well you can carry on a conversation, and then on other traits of how you your what is it called as your body language. Secondary, primarily it is about social, a conversation. Whether one is comfortable with having conversations with a group of people or uh, new people in a crowd, so on and so forth. These are the factors on which it is based. I think there could be studies also that these these are not the only traits that should be taken to define somebody as introvert or extrovert, because in today's times we understand people have various kinds of intelligences, and that which defines your social interactions is only, I guess, a couple of those intelligences. Like somebody who's more interested, let's say, in art, may find it much more helpful to observe than to interact, because that is how they work creatively. All right. However, they also can be as favorably disposed or very much favorably disposed towards the Supreme Lord, or they may also be very much inclined towards impersonalism. So, is that helpful?
And Prabhu, my second question was,
Coming to introvert and extrovert, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu similarly had, he did not say introvert and extrovert, he said, oh, Jagdananda. He never listens to it. So, Jagdanand Pandit was what today the social scientists describe as extrovert. It's like, you don't want to apply oil, you want to sleep on the ground. Why do I even think about you? Why do I even worry about you? It's simply a waste of time. I made all of this oil and I'm going to dump it into the trash. And he threw it. And Gadadhar Pandit is on the other extreme. Gadadhar, why don't you get angry with me? And Gadadhar is like, Gadadhar, I'm talking to you. Yes, Mahaprabhu. I tried to instigate you and you still just kept quiet. How? Why? That is Gadadhar. Gadadhar Pandit. So the Supreme Lord has all kinds of devotees. And all of them are equally favorably disposed towards the Lord, and the Lord equally reciprocates with all of them. He says, Jagdananda, please don't tell him that I did not sleep here, otherwise he'll scold me again. And Gadadhar, I have to go and eat rice at his place. So I'll be going to his place today. I won't take lunch here. I'll take lunch with Gadadhar Pandit. Eat the rice that is cooked. Is that all right? Yeah.
my second question was, so you were talking about, you were giving the example of Jainam Prabhu, and the question was asked of him, okay, like, I forget the question.
How do we see this?
How to be free from Maya? And then he just said that, I'm always doing it, so I don't have time for these things. So you were saying that if we are always engaged, like that, then we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to think about that. So Prabhu, I was just thinking, like, Janan Prabhu, like, he was a brahmachari, and brahmachari usually, it's said that they don't have so much freedom, they're just given service and they have to do that service. It seems like that. But as grahasthas, generally there's a lot more freedom and there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. And those decisions can be hard, like they can influence us a lot because the result of the decision can impact lives of themselves and others a lot. So in those situations, it becomes hard to just like keep doing service because you have to actually take initiative, make decisions, and things like that. So in such situations, like how can we make sure that we don't get too much on the mental platform in terms of like thinking about these decisions because we have to make decisions all the time, and it may not be possible just keep doing service like somebody told us to do service and just keep doing that. So,
Um, how about we look at Janan Prabhu's pastimes with a different perspective? I'm not sure if making the Ratha cart could be, always accepted as service, because once you've made a Ratha cart, you should just kind of keep it in good conditions for the next year. But it seems that he would work on it, maybe remodel it, or maybe just add on, maybe improve on a few things. Maybe that is what he did. He would be busy doing something which could be used as service. Like, let us say, uh, if the temple, like Jayanand Prabhu, uh, when it came to making the Ratha cart, he would be working on it. However, if somebody else would be working on it, then Jayanand Prabhu would let them do that and move on to some another service which needed to be done, and there were no volunteers. That is what is described about him. So it is not that he was given a service and he would do it. He would also be very aware of what services have no volunteers there to be done. And if he would find time, then, and if he had the facility, then he would let others do a particular service and he would move on to that service. Basically, he knew the art of being busy. And the only reason was he knew that most probably he understood time management better than all of us. He should have, if you were here, he would have given seminars, I guess, on time management. Anyways, if we are involved with the affairs of the material world, and it can sometimes be quite intense, it would need all of attention. Being engaged in that without having ulterior motives of greed or just, okay, let me put it like this: getting that work done because that brings food to the table is a very good engagement for the mind. How is that? We have the senses that is performing certain activity. Now, this activity and the intent of this activity and the outcome of this activity is in the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is a very good platform to dive into the mode of pure goodness. This is Srila Prabhupada's word. It's a diving platform. So that engagement is helpful. However, if we get distracted by other motivations while doing that work, that is a challenge. So working in the mode of goodness can also be dovetailed into Krishna's service. Once the outcome is there, you wash your hands off it, like you sanitize yourself and your mind, and then do whatever service is direct service to Krishna. So now the work that you have done is also considered to be, it is considered as facilitating direct service to Krishna. So there's no problem in it. So griya thako vane thako sadahari de bole thako. That is the principle. Is that helpful? Yeah. Basically, we are engaged, and the engagement is helping us stay in the mode of goodness. From where it is easy to now render direct service to Krishna as soon as we get the opportunity. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki